Hi, this is Reg Athwal and welcome to another episode of Family Business Q&A. So through our community and through our following and our platform, as well as working with clients, a recent question I had was, how do we run effective virtual board meetings? Especially due to the crisis and lockdown, many people could be part of a board, but in different countries right now. So I wanted to leave you with 15 brief points that can help you to make sure that you run an effective virtual board meeting. So here we go. Number one, obviously decide what type of software you're going to use. Is it going to be Zoom, MS Team, Blue Jeans, WebEx? I've just mentioned a few, but there's many companies out there where you can use their software. Zoom seems to be quite popular right now, but has also had some security issues, which I'm sure they are resolving. So once you've made that decision, that's number one. Number two would be to make sure that everybody has that software uploaded or downloaded, depending on how you look at it, onto their mobile, desktop, laptop, whichever device they're going to be using for the board meeting. And make sure they've got the latest version, because some of these companies are bringing out new versions all the time. And if you haven't got the up-to-date version, you may not be able to get into that meeting. So that's the second thing to bear in mind. Third thing would be, on the actual day, make sure you've got great audio and lighting. As you can see from my screenshot here, you've got to be able to see everybody's face. The last thing you want is someone using an iPad or a mobile phone and it's down there somewhere and they're looking down. That is not a good shot. You can't see their face. It's important that you've got a great facial shot. Make sure you've got good audio. Right now I'm working through my laptop. The audio is fairly clear, but you could get lapel microphones, you can get standalone microphones plugged into a USB slot. So you need to make sure that you do make the right investment, or make sure your computer is fairly up to date with good technology and audio is clear, good facial shot, but also lighting. I've got a small light right opposite me here, just making sure I've got a little bit more light on my face. Otherwise, it's going to be fairly dark in my library here. So make sure audio, lighting, good face shot is number three. Point number four, turn off pop-up sounds, notifications. I mean, I remember one of the first videos that I created, I ended up having my WhatsApp messages popping in the background, which was just so annoying. And now I just make sure before I start recording, my inbox is shut down, and make sure my WhatsApp on desktop or any other applications are shut down before I get started. So make sure you turn off pop-up sounds, notifications. It can be annoying for some people, especially when you're in flow and communicating with the rest of the board. Other things to bear in mind is software updates for your laptop, your iPad, your mobile. This is also important. The last thing you want is having your own software issue, not with Zoom or MS Team or Blue Jeans or the software for doing the virtual board meeting, but your actual device itself could end up having an issue. So just make sure you're up to date. That will also prevent any delays on your computer. Make sure you don't have any glitches. It doesn't suddenly stop. Another thing I'd add to that point around software, is it's a minor thing, digressing slightly, is make sure that you've got your power cable plugged into your laptop, because some of these technologies consume a lot of power, and the last thing that you want is you think you're fully charged, you're good for an hour or 2 hours, and before you know it, half an hour later, you've got 13% left on your battery energy on your laptop. So these are a few things to consider. Moving on from there, looking into the camera. When you're communicating with the rest of the board or any meeting that you're having, if you look now, if I'm looking down here, maybe I've got 3-4 people on my Zoom screen and I'm talking to them like this. Maybe I'm trying to talk to someone here or someone here, because that's the view that I have. But what would be more effective is to look into the camera, because then everyone can see that you're talking to them. You're not talking somewhere else on that screen. And that's very, very important, not just for board meetings, any type of meetings, webinars, any speech that you're giving, is try as much as possible to look into that camera and connect with your audience, because they're not in the room with you, it's virtual. So you've got to be able to make that connection. Other things would be, if you're not talking, mute, hit the mute button. The amount of times I've been in meetings, there's 10, 15 people in the meeting, and you have to constantly keep reminding people to hit the mute button because you can hear someone's washing machine in the background, you can hear a dog barking, the doorbell's gone off, there's somebody doing some work in another room, there's all sorts of things come up. So if you're not talking, just hit that mute button, and it's a lot easier then for the one person that is communicating to the board to be able to communicate and everyone can hear them clearly. Other thing I would say is if you're in a room with multiple people, sometimes I've had situations where I've got maybe 12 people in a virtual board meeting, but one of them is in another room with lots of other people in that particular meeting room. This also happens with webinars. I do one once a week with one of my clients on a regular basis, and some people are in different conference rooms around the world. So if that happens, obviously you're going to be projected on a screen. That's got to be tested in advance. But the most important thing is if people in that room are going to speak with you as the chair, as the moderator, or with anybody else in the board, you've got to make sure that the audio is clear. In some cases, we've made sure we've got an extra microphone that revolves around the room and people can speak into it. In other cases, I've had someone make sure that they come in on a second device, such as an iPad, and we've used the iPad for the extra audio. So there's many things you can do, but just make sure the audio is clear. What you don't want is I'm speaking right now, I've got 10 people in a real boardroom, virtually having a meeting with me, and the person right at the back of the boardroom I cannot hear. That is not going to help you have a smooth board meeting. Chat. I find chats are very good for draft minutes. So if you've got the minute taker with you for the board meeting, literally in real time, that person can be also making notes in the chat in case we've missed something or we need to go back to something. I find that works really well. Plus you can capture all the chat notes afterwards, and that can help for transcribing notes and for the minute taker to do their job. I find Q&A is also good. I recommend in boards that if one person's doing a presentation or focused on a key point, is not to get distracted or have others get involved in that conversation, disrupt it, and stop the flow. Best to use the Q&A in your software, and someone can make a note there in the Q&A, and then the chairman moderator can come back to that towards the end of that segment in the agenda or at the end of the meeting. Polls I find are really good for making key decisions. So in advance in the polls, if I know in the agenda we've got 3 key decisions that need to be made, I will use the polls to make sure it comes up for everyone. Say, okay, here's the 3 options that we had. We've debated everything now in the boardroom. What decision shall we make? A, we go for this. B, we go for this. C, we don't have enough information and can't make that decision today. We need more information and to set a time to make a decision. So I find that's a good way of getting everybody involved and everyone can give their thoughts immediately. And it's a bit different from a traditional board meeting where you're going around one by one and someone on this side of the room says, yeah, I concur, I agree with such and such. I like the poll because it's done in real time. You say to everyone, okay, it's up here for a minute or 2 minutes, make your decision. Make sure, another point here would be to make sure that the PowerPoint presentations or any type of presentation is sent well in advance to the chairman, the moderator, whoever's going to be managing that during the actual virtual board meeting. It's a lot easier to have all the presentations in one place and have that one person sharing that for everybody, rather than different people going, okay, can everyone see that? Is this working? Oh, I can't find it on my computer. Oh, there's a software update required. It's crashed. You don't want any of these issues. Have it centralized. Have one person managing all of that and make sure it's sent in advance. If you're also looking to make key decisions, make sure that the presentations are sent in advance to all the board members and there's a deadline for them to read it, have their notes ready, and then those are used as discussion points in the board meeting. Because it's shocking how many meetings I've delivered or chaired with my clients around the world where people just rock up, turn up, there's a major decision to be made, and they're looking at the presentation for the first time. That is not how you make strategic decisions, critical decisions, tough decisions that need to be made for a board. Make sure that you set the timings, give enough time to debate things as well, make key decisions, and make sure you keep people on time. Okay, if they've got half an hour or 15 minutes to discuss something, have a look through the slides in advance. If they've got a 67 slide presentation that they expect to deliver in 15 minutes, it is not going to happen. You're better off calling that person up and saying, hey, you're going to have to strip this down, turn it into an executive summary of maybe 1, 2, 3 slides with key points, and we'll send the rest of the presentation out so people can read it in advance. So those are a few tips I wanted to share with you. Hit the subscribe button, please. There's lots of other videos on the channel here that you can watch and different show themes that we have. Hit the like button. It helps us with our rankings on YouTube. And don't forget to leave some comments. Let me know what's the one thing that you got from this small episode of one thing that you can do to improve your virtual board meetings and become more effective. So thanks for watching and see you again soon.